All right, let's get right into this. We're going to talk about an absolutely incredible story of heroism from the very last days of World War II in Europe. It's a tale of one man facing a situation that was, for all intents and purposes, impossible, and making a choice that changed everything. So picture this. It's March 18th, 1945. For First Lieutenant Jack Treadwell, the day starts with the grim reality of his unit, Fox Company, being absolutely pinned down by a storm of German fire. They're trapped, and every single option on the table seems to lead to the exact same brutal conclusion. Okay, so the kill zone. To really get what's about to happen, you first have to understand the obstacle they were facing. This wasn't just some random hill, it was a purpose-built meat grinder, designed specifically for attacking soldiers. And you can just see the sheer scale of this thing. The Siegfried Line was a monstrous feat of engineering. The whole point was that if you attacked one bunker, you were immediately exposed to fire from several others. It was quite literally a death trap by design. And look, this wasn't some theoretical danger, right? The price for challenging this line had already been paid in blood just an hour earlier. 8 of Treadwell's guys had tried to advance, and all 8 of them were cut down in seconds, just left wounded or dying out there on the frozen ground. Let's just break down how completely hopeless this was. They're looking at 300 yards of open, frozen grass, no cover, none. 6 machine gun pillboxes are set up to create a perfect kill zone with no dead spots. The Germans already had their artillery zeroed in on every possible ditch or fold in the ground, and those concrete walls, they just laughed off American artillery shells. A frontal assault was pure suicide. Period. So, with his men completely pinned down, wounded men bleeding out, and 0 good options left, Treadwell makes a decision that it defies all military logic. He decides the only way through is for him to go alone. You know, this quote, this really gets to the heart of his thinking. This is a mindset that was forged over 4 years of brutal, non-stop combat from Sicily all the way to Germany. He knew that waiting meant more of his men would die, and he knew that ordering another attack meant more of his men would die. He had to choose between a bad solution and an even worse one. This is it. This is the moment where everything changes. He doesn't order his men to charge back into that meat grinder. He just picks up his Thompson submachine gun, checks his 4 grenades, tells his company to cover him, and then he just starts walking up the hill, straight into the kill zone, all by himself. And just to put that into perspective for you, a single one of those German machine guns, the MG-42, could spit out 1,200 rounds a minute. They called it Hitler's buzzsaw for a reason. The sound it made was just this continuous, terrifying ripping noise. And Treadwell walked right into a storm of lead from several of them, all pointed right at him. Now we get to the assault itself, and this is genuinely one of the most incredible individual actions of the entire war. What happens over the next few minutes is it's almost unbelievable. Okay, so let's walk through this whirlwind of a one-man offensive. He gets to the first bunker, shoves his Thompson right through the firing slit, and captures 4 absolutely stunned German soldiers. Then he sprints to the second one, tosses a grenade, and captures the German officer in command of the whole hill, completely shattering their coordination. Then he runs 30 yards across an open ridge, under fire, to take the 3rd pillbox with another grenade. By the time he gets to the 4th bunker, the defenders inside are so terrified they surrender without firing a single shot. The 5th crew sees the rest of Fox Company, inspired by Treadwell, finally charging up the hill, and they just give up as he gets close. And with his last grenade, he takes out the 6th and final bunker. 6 bunkers, neutralized by 1 man. So what's the final count? In the span of just a few minutes, he personally captured 21 enemy soldiers, 1 man against an entire fortified position. It is just a staggering result. But the impact of what he did went way beyond just taking out 6 bunkers. The real story here is the ripple effect, how his action broke the psychological hold that German position had, not just on his men, but on the entire front. Yeah, this slide just shows the transformation perfectly. Before Treadwell's assault, his company was completely paralyzed. After, they were charging up the hill that he had cleared for them. A stalled advance became a major breakthrough, and a death trap was turned into an objective they secured with minimal further loss. It was a total game changer. And this wasn't just some local victory either. His assault literally tore a hole in the formidable Siegfried Line. It unblocked a key sector and allowed the entire Allied offensive, Operation Undertone, to surge forward again. One man's incredible courage had huge strategic consequences. And, it's so important to remember that this unbelievable day, it wasn't some isolated event. It was the defining moment for sure, but it was part of a lifetime that was dedicated to service and leadership under fire. I mean, just look at the arc of this career. He starts out as a private from Oklahoma in 1941. Just 4 years later, he's receiving the Medal of Honor. But he doesn't stop there. He stays in the Army, and eventually he's commanding a brigade in another war, in Vietnam, before retiring as a full colonel after 33 years of service. Just incredible. By the end of his career, he was widely considered one of the most decorated soldiers in the history of the United States Armed Forces. The Medal of Honor was, of course, the highest award, but it was joined by the Distinguished Service Cross, the Silver Star, multiple Purple Hearts. I mean, the list just goes on and on. After surviving the absolute worst of 2 wars, Colonel Treadwell passed away from complications after heart surgery. He was only 58 years old. It's a life of just unbelievable bravery that ended far, far too soon in peacetime. And I just want to leave you with this line from his official Medal of Honor citation, because I think it captures the essence of his action perfectly. An overwhelming one-man offensive against a seemingly impregnable enemy position. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What is the true limit of one person's courage?